It's time to say goodbye to the 2025 NASCAR season. 3 champs were crowned this weekend. We've had chaos. We've had fun. It's been a great season. Now it's time to hand out some awards and look back at the seasons that were. Come on down with the Backroad one last time for 2025 season.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race
What's going on, folks? Welcome to the Backroad. It is In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. And just like that, the 2025 season has come to an end. We have crowned our champions in Phoenix, and the offseason has begun. And hey, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time since the Mexico City race weekend, we have the full allotment of Backroad co-hosts here. My name is Elliot Hicks. We've got Seth Woolcock here, of course, founder, Grand Poobah, top gentleman here at In Between Media. How's it going tonight, Seth?
Hey, Elliot, it's going good, man. What a season it was. So much profit, so much losses at the same time, and a little bit of everything in between. But that's what we expect here at IBT, and it all came to a head here in Phoenix. Maybe not the results everyone wanted from a fan or bettor perspective, but glad to be back in the saddle, hand out at least some nominees for some awards, and recap the season it was with both you and Rod.
Yeah, we got Rod Villagomez here with us again as well. How's it going over there in Hot Rod's garage, my friend?
I am taking a gigantic exhale now that the season is over, only to get ready to inhale again because we're not done. Futures are out already for next season. That means that we're back on the grind. We may get like a couple of minutes of reprieve, but it's got to be right back at it as we start to look to 2026. But listen, I don't know about you guys, but I had a lot of great stuff happening on the card this weekend. So I had a great weekend overall.
Yeah, the reprieve was a little nap I took after the post-race show ended Sunday night from Phoenix, and then we're right back on it. I did not know markets were already out, so once this show gets done, I'm going to have to go and place the first futures of the 26 season. Of course, we'll get to plenty of that over the offseason. The shows don't stop. We'll have a little bit of everything for you here on In Between Media, and it starts by taking a look back in the rearview, as we'll do here in a moment, at Championship Weekend, give you our reaction to the races at Phoenix, let you know how our bets went. We'll take a look back at our season-long cards, of course, bets that we placed as far back as I think even last December for me, and some of those bets that we've been following all year long, what cashed, what didn't, how did things end up. And then, like we talked about, we're bringing back, I think it's our second annual season awards show, give you our most valuable driver, least valuable driver, and crown some other ones as well. Going to be a fun time, just as it always is over in the IBT Racing Family Discord. It was a super fun year doing this for the first time. We'll have to give them, I think on Discord, you can add little flares or little tags or whatever. We're going to have to figure out, we'll get somebody who's maybe better at Discord than us. Throw some flares on the guys who rode with us all year, inaugural members of the racing family.
Mm-hmm.
Lot to follow and tail our betting cards all year, for better or for worse. We gave away some memorabilia. We still got to pick a winner for our Phoenix one. We'll get to that soon. The betting model, Seth and Ryan from My Fantasy Race, collaborating on that to do such a great job and really help our betting cards all throughout the year. And I'm sure the conversation will not stop throughout the offseason. No. Whether it's tuning into any other racing that's going on over the winter, Snowball Derby, Chili Bowl, all that fun stuff going on. The conversation doesn't stop. And with the racing family, you also get into the IBT football family as well, if you're into the football betting, which a little bit broader audience in the racing family. But to be honest, I feel like I made more money in NASCAR than I would have in the NFL this year. So.
Yeah, it certainly is one of those things that you build up a bankroll throughout the NASCAR season. September hits and you just start draining it one bet after another, but starting to see the field pretty well over there. 4-1 week on the player props. That was great. Hit a couple good anytime touchdowns this past week as well. So starting to come into focus, just a little bit slow getting out of the gates, if you would.
Hey, that happens. And hey, the wintertime, a great time for all these wild sports to come out when there's not racing. Rod, you know a good bit about that on your site. So You Like Sports. Could be some fun stuff to follow over the winter over there as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I just said, you take a deep breath because the season's over, but that doesn't mean sports is all the way over. And of course, on the other side of the world, the weather's just getting perfect for all of these sports as well. So, you know, Australian rules football still going with the women's, and there's all kinds of good stuff going on down on the other side of the world that can be covered and bet on.
hey, if I'm in the mood for some late nights, I got some Australian baseball league that I love to fill my November and December with. Before we get started, of course, a shout out to everyone listening on the audio version as well over on Apple Podcasts. Leave a review over there. And we're still rocking and rolling 101.5 FM talking West Tennessee, 8 o'clock Saturday nights. We'll take you through all the off-season fun. And for all the fun that we've got going on here at In Between Media, the links in the episode description. And at the very least, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope you enjoy all this off-season content we're going to put out, because like we've been talking about for the first 5.5 minutes so far, the grind doesn't stop, and it certainly isn't stopping so far. We got to look back in the rear view at what was a magical championship weekend in Phoenix. Let's go ahead, crack that open right now. So obviously plenty to talk about from championship weekend out in the desert. The final time, at least in this cycle, that the titles will be awarded in Phoenix, heading back to Homestead in 2026, and then a rotation from then on. But memorable weekend for better or for worse. Plenty to talk about in each race. Let's start with the trucks on Friday night. Corey Heim had that race pretty much in the bag. Some late race, a little bit of late race trouble there. Connor Mosack maybe trying to help his teammate Tyler Ankrum there a little bit. Stand out on the track a little bit too long with a flat tire. Leads to a late restart, and Corey Heim pulls off some 7-wide magic down there heading into turn 1. He takes 4 tires, gains back all those positions, gives the 11 team their 12th win of the year, and a well-deserved championship for Corey Heim, Seth.
Man, Corey Heim, I'm so happy he could pull that out, not only for my own betting card, I was on that outright, but just for the good of NASCAR, right? This guy deserved it. Ty Majeski, though, I mean, talk about a guy who just kept digging and digging and digging. He did not let it go there, and really, really fun race overall. And for the bets as well, you and I both on a couple long shot top 5s that looked good. We had some Geo action down there. We also, I know you were on a little Brent Cruz that he was looking good until some late race trouble with his truck as well. And, one of these things that I was on Geo so heavily, and then I saw Hemrick over Geo bet. They pulled that right before practice. I was like, okay, well, I can at least go Geo. They pulled that, never came back. I can at least go Geo over Raja. Did not work. It was not the same as the Hemrick bet. Hemrick wrecked on, I think, lap 1 or 2. I think he got 2 laps in. So still overall profitable for the betting card, but I really enjoyed what we saw out there in the Truck Series. At least I feel like we got the deserving winner that we all wanted, Rod.
This makes me wonder, because we got, and we'll get to the cup race obviously in a little bit, but there was so much angst and anger over what happened, the late caution and the way that it all shook out. We just saw that in the truck race where Majeski pretty much probably should have had it in the bag, right? He had a lot of good stuff going on in that race. He led himself 35 laps, and there were obviously Corey Heim, the fastest truck overall, but Ty wasn't letting it go, like you said. And yet we're still like, because Corey Heim won, we're happy, right? If Ty Majeski would have won, would we still have been happy? I mean, it makes me wonder, obviously, when you put the tinfoil hat on and you start to think about, well, Moylesack got involved and caused a caution. And, now that Majeski could have cost him the championship, whatever. But overall, I was pretty happy with my card, because I did have a dual forecast where I said Heim Majeski finishing 1-2 in any combination. Right. That was plus 120. Hit that one. Did cost me the Majeski outright, but I did hit Honeycutt top 3 plus 275. I had Kruth as a top 5 at plus 550 over on 365. So those were a couple of the big ones. Missed Ankrum over Enfinger, which kind of pissed me off, because that should have hit, I think. And then Geo over Cruz, which, had its moments, but yeah, that was a rough one too.
Elliot, what about that pass by Corey Heim? We go 7 wide. I was telling my brother about it the next day. He's like, they did not go 7 wide at Phoenix. I said, yes, they did. And I showed him Corey Heim going from 10th to 2nd on one corner. I mean, hats off to the kid, Elliot, and also hats off to the equipment that I was able to just dig that low and really fan out there on the wide corner there.
Yeah, he absolutely nailed it on that restart. He just refused to lose that race, and it didn't happen. I had the Majeski outright, Majeski over Heim. Yeah. I went on the little heel turn there, so I can't even be mad about it, because Corey Heim, very deserving champ. Yeah, we had really tough breaks there. It wasn't the last restart, but within the last 50 laps of the race. Brent Cruz is on the front row. Gio is not too far behind. Brent Cruz breaks an axle. A bunch of stuff happens. A big stack up in the middle of the pack. That may have been one of the last restarts, actually. It takes out Gio Ruggiero as well. Not the last time. We'll talk about a few of those guys. Caden Honeycutt, really good night as well. Finishing third there. He might have had a shot right there at the end. Wild season for him for sure. And yeah, as we talked about, maybe some ominous foreshadowing that truck race kind of led to the Cup race, just because the 11 truck did well, the 11 Cup car, things went a little differently. But before we get to Sunday, Saturday's Xfinity Series race, the final send-off for Xfinity, the lead changed hands a couple of times. Allgaier had his run. Connor Zilisch had his run, but late on, Jesse Love was hanging around all night, keeping in touch with those JRM cars. Love pulls away from Zilisch late on, leaves Dale Jr. hanging again on title day. In two of the last 4 years, JRM has 3 of the championship 4, and the 4th car takes the title. Jesse Love and RC are the champions there. And this was a situation that NASCAR avoided with Heim being able to take the title. Zilisch wins 10 races, has as many top 5s in a row as he did, and is not the champion. Disappointing, but Love, not a terrible season either, was right there with Zilisch in top 10s. Just because he didn't win quite as much, you can't call him an undeserving champion, Ron.
Yeah, I mean, we all season long were loving Love, right? I mean, there was just every week that we were talking about Xfinity, Love's name would come up because that's how consistent he was. He was winning a lot of people a lot of money all year long. So from a betting standpoint, you absolutely love Love. And again, this format, that's the way it is, right? Until there's something else in there, you play to the system that you're at. Jesse Love did exactly that. Yeah, he didn't win 10 races, but he won the one that mattered, right? He won the one in the end that got him the championship. And it wasn't as if he was a 30th place car and winning the race and winning the championship, right? That's not how the system is. He was a consistent driver all year long, good enough to get him in the playoffs, good enough to get him into the next round, and then to win the whole thing, right? So you can't be mad at that. As a Connor Zilisch fan, probably get a little butthurt, but at the same time, you have to recognize Jesse Love beat him. He just beat him. Mm-hmm. And Connor Zilisch didn't have trouble. He didn't have a bad pit stall. He wasn't as good as he normally is, and caught him on an off day. That's what happens, and that's how you win the championship in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, it certainly was. And, I was very happy personally. I did hedge with Connor Zilisch pretty aggressively on the outright there, but come through with the Jesse Love 11-1 future that I got on in the preseason at that number. 18 units came back in my pocket. So that was glorious to see. And, and I should have known that this was coming after riding in the elevator with RC a couple times at Pocono over the summer. He was ready. He was ready to go and fired up, especially about the Xfinity Series drivers he had in his arsenal. And Jesse Love proved that while he, like you said, Rod, didn't have the winning resume that his best friend Connor Zilisch did, he certainly was one of the drivers to watch this season. And, someone I think, honestly, we should have been on more, Elliot, from a Phoenix race standpoint. Outright number wasn't bad. And in addition, he was sitting right around there at even money for a top 5. And I think we're all just a little bit gun shy with the JRM cars having so many entries into this championship 4, and Eric Almirola also hanging around the owners' points as well.
Yeah, and it was tough because with Love, we had just come off of him having a really bad run at Martinsville to the point where he almost didn't qualify for the championship 4. Definitely gave me some pause, but I didn't get the Love championship ticket in an 11-1 like you did, Seth, but I hopped on it early in the year to 7-1. So I put in the Discord Monday or Tuesday because I was not so confident in Love and was really confident in both Allgaier and Zilisch at Phoenix. I was like, maybe I should cash out of this. Didn't, held on to it, and was able to cash the 7-1 there. Eric Almirola in the 19 took home the owner's title with a second place finish. Love was not qualified for that, but neither Hill nor Almirola played any sort of nefarious role in that. And for Almirola, I was heavy on the outright and another bet of him. I think it was a straight forecast, dual forecast with him and Allgaier. And it just didn't quite work out. I should have been more on Almirola's placements instead of just a straight outright. Would have made me some more money, but at least handicapping that pretty well. I don't feel bad about him. Like I said, with those two guys, I was worried for weeks that with Hill and Almirola in there, they were going to mess something up and affect the driver's title. Didn't happen, and overall was a relatively clean race on the Xfinity side. They go off pretty well. It'll be the O'Reilly Series starting, I think, January 1st. That switches over.
O'Reilly's Auto Parts.
So we'll have to sing the jingle, get that stuck in our head so we don't call it Xfinity all the first month of next year.
Yeah.
All right, so Xfinity Love gets it done. And then on the Cup side, Denny Hamlin drove the race of his life. He's never a fan of that one race format. Had it go so poorly for him on multiple occasions, multiple different formats, was unable to get that title. We get down to the end of it at Phoenix, beginning, middle, end. Denny Hamlin, the dominant car all day, leads 208 laps. We saw on multiple occasions that 11 car just absolutely taking off. The race is in his control. Larson had trouble. Briscoe had trouble. William Byron was just not quite good enough. We get down to the end of the race. The tires, a big-time story, tire issues in practice. Of course, tire issues for 3 of the championship 4, and even Hamlin had a tire that he thought was going down right at the end of stage 2. What ends up happening, you have J.J. Yaley bring out a caution, 50-ish to go, gets the 5 and the 19 back on the lead lap, gets them back into it. Briscoe gets better track position than Larson. You have some 2 tire calls. The second to last restart, I think it was the championship 4, end up restarting 1, 2, 3, 4.
That was great.
Denny Hamlin takes off just like he had all day. We get to 3 laps to go. William Byron, tire trouble, hits the wall, wrecks his car. Caution comes out. We have an overtime finish, and then the strategy goes haywire. Of course, Larson and Briscoe got their track position back earlier with a 2-tire stop. They do so again. Denny Hamlin takes 4 tires, drops back to 10th. You have Larson starting ahead of him. Briscoe, I think, was in that mix somewhere too, maybe a little further behind. You had 3 guys stay out. Keselowski, Preece, and Bowman all stay out on no tires there. Makes for a heck of a last restart there. Denny Hamlin, he watched that truck race. He tries to maybe see if he can pull off that 7-wide move. Gets held up on the inside. Meanwhile, Larson is able to go around Bowman on the outside, get just enough room. Hamlin not able to get back to him. Kyle Larson is your 2025 Cup Series championship. And a heck of a finish at the line, too. It looked like Brad Keselowski was going to win his first race of the year for both himself and for RFK. The old tires didn't hold on. Ryan Blaney in the 12 car ends up claiming win number 4 of the year. Had to have some good luck from Sydney Sweeney pre-race hanging out with that 12 team there, probably for the 12. But as good as the finish was, the story all day. And none of us here are particularly big Denny Hamlin fans. We're far from Hamlin haters, though, either. And that was my feeling all last night, was just, regardless of the fact that I had the bets on him and bets that would have hit, that championship bet, winner of the race under 11.5, leader of lap 10 to win the race, which was Denny Hamlin. The bets didn't matter. You just have to feel bad for the man, that he did everything right, and it was just that wonderful effery that took it away from the 11 team.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got to feel for this guy. Like, so locked in, did everything right, got himself into the championship 4 as early as he could, had weeks to prepare. And we even heard that he changed his setup, right? Like he looked at a lot of different data, looked at what other drivers like Ryan Blaney have done at Phoenix to have success, and came in with a rocket. And what I really liked from Hamlin's day here was he was not afraid to be aggressive on his tires. Usually we see Denny Hamlin kind of slow roll things, right? Have that really pure late run speed. It was kind of the opposite, where he was going out. He was wanting to test his equipment, try to push that to the edge a little bit. Luckily, he did get saved that one time. He thought he might have had a tire going down at the end of stage 2. So absolutely gutting loss. I feel so bad for him. I feel so bad for his family, the entire 11 team, Joe Gibbs Racing as a whole, his children. I mean, just absolutely terrible. But I'll say, Rod, Ryan Blaney, number 1 in the IVT betting model last week. So if you came along for that, you know if you know.
I tried to tell everybody Ryan Blaney is going to be the thorn on everyone's side. He was 7-1 to win the race. I said that is absolutely just an abominable number that should never be there. Take it. And guess what? It happened exactly the way. And then, I also had said that Kyle Larson was going to win the championship. And so I was like, well, Ryan Blaney is going to win the race, but I think Kyle Larson wins the championship. Wow. And that's exactly what it's 7-1 for Ryan Blaney to win the race. And then it was the championship for Kyle Larson was 275. So that was good. And then I had the winning car number under 15.5, Blaney top 3. There was a lot of great stuff going on in that betting card. And like I said, I feel bad for Hamlin. I really do. It wasn't anything that I was actively rooting against. And if he would have won and that would have killed the card for us, fine. Like, I would have liked that story, because the Hollywood script writers were sitting there working overtime trying to figure out how to get that to work, right? They were like, oh no, late caution, rewrite. And they were trying to rewrite it. It just didn't come out the way it was supposed to. And you feel bad. And I mean, obviously we could probably have these discussions later in the offseason, because this isn't the time or the place for it, because this brought out the question of, well, Kyle Larson didn't even win, didn't have the best car, finished third, still won the championship. Well, yeah, that's how this works. Like I'm sorry that's you hate it. Come up with something better for it. But look, Larson, here's the thing about it. We say that he's in a slump, right? We used to joke on the show, the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, he was Captain Shook and that. But if a slump means you haven't won a race in 4 months, there's a lot of drivers out there that want to be in that kind of a slump. You know what I'm saying? I just still don't. The disrespect for him was fine. It was funny for a little while, but you still have to remember he's Kyle Larson, right? And that he's one of the more formidable drivers out there in the entire motorsports genre. So, yeah, I mean, respect to him for doing what he needed to do. Denny could have done it too. You know, there's no reason Denny couldn't have taken 2. No reason Denny couldn't have gone out and tried to play.
Especially because they, at that point, everyone, I mean, the call's already made, so maybe it's like you can't go back, Elliot, but like they knew at that point that some people were staying out, that a couple teams were taking 2 as well by the time Denny got to his pit stop. So that's why, like, is it too late to throw the audible there, you think, for Gale and company?
And that's what I heard, was that, you know, you have your air pressures kind of set differently. And I also read a stat where it almost never happens that you have a team take only 2 tires on a pit stop, 2 pit stops in a row. So that's kind of what they figured too, that they wanted to put themselves on offense on the 5 team, and that they didn't want to take away that good 11 car from the 11. We saw the 11 truck win the race on 4 tires, and it just didn't happen for the 11 car. And as for Larson, if you say he's an invalid champion, it was tough on the day. But for everyone who wants to say, oh, in this format, in that format, whatever, Larson won the championship.
Yes, he did.
Format that we have.
Yep.
Larson won the full season standings championship if you left out the playoffs and awarded stage points and everything. And if you had calculated everything based on the old school 10 race chase, Kyle Larson would have won that as well. So a guy that definitely deserves to have a title. In terms of how the race finished off, of course, the Hamlin bets didn't pay off for me. I was texting with a friend, a casual NASCAR fan, who, of course, was tuned in for Championship Sunday because that's what casuals do. He was wondering what some of my bets were, and I mentioned to him, hey, I've got a little bit of coin on Hamlin, on Byron, and on Briscoe, which means Kyle Larson is going to win the title.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what happens. Blaney, top 5, hit that at -110. Ross Chastain, pretty good day. Could have hit a couple more bets on him, but still got the one over the 45. Reddick tanked on that last restart. I'm not sure what happened, but I hit that at +120. And RFK running pretty crappy throughout the early part of the race. Thought those Keselowski and Preece top 10 bets were dead. They start to inch up to the top 10. We get to that last restart. The 6 and the 60 are 1 and 2. They both hold on for top 10 finishes to cash my +250 and +350. And hey, I appreciate the call from the 48, Blake Harris and the gang, to stay out. Gave me one last restart of hope. Maybe my guy can pull something off. 3rd to 15th on the last restart.
Whoa.
That's what happens. But hey, if I can put on the 48 hat for a minute, listen into that radio. Larson's starting right behind him, and the spotter comes over the radio. Hey, Larson's spotter is coming to me and asking for all these requests. Should we relay him? Crew Chief Blake Harris says, no, we're running our race. They'll be fine. That really sounds like a man who hopefully is going to get fired. But we'll talk more about Bowman and everyone else's season and the report cards coming up in the next couple of weeks. In terms of how the bets went, Seth, forgive me if you've already mentioned these, but you obviously had some Blaney bets hit as well that helped the card out for the week with him grabbing that W.
Yeah, we squad rided that top 5 for a unit and a half at -110. I also went the top 4 on Blaney that almost didn't come through because old Bad Brad almost pulled off a little upset. +110 on that from DraftKings for 2 units. We were also down on Chris Buescher, which was not a sweat at all. -135 over Ty Gibbs all day. 2.5 units. Ty Gibbs, like I said, out to lunch that day. I don't know if he just didn't get the support from JGR or if he was just, hey, let's pack it in. Let's see you next year like he usually does at this time of year. So those came through. And, yeah, the only 2 bets that didn't hit for me, Elliot, on the Cup Series side was the Denny Hamlin outright. And we were also on that misprice odd number car at plus money as well. That so close there. But hey, we had our guy Stan in the comments last week say, hey, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, 2 guys who can win this race that are even numbered cars. So definitely thought of Stan in that moment. But overall, about even on the weekend. I think I was down like 0.2 of a unit, but I'll take it when you can also cash an 18 unit worth ticket you've been holding on to for a good 7 or 8 months.
Yeah, and we had plenty of those tickets as well. I'll leave the floor open for any other comments on any of the 3 races for the weekend before we step into the season long. Anyone else got any more grievances to air before we get moving on?
I will miss Phoenix a little bit, I think, actually. Like I know Homestead more popular track, more popular destination, better racing traditionally on the 1.5 miles. But I have to give it to Phoenix, Rod. I thought Phoenix had a great showing. You know, it sounded like all the hospitality from everyone who was at the race was hands down sensational once again. But I thought, you know, from Friday to Sunday, the racing was really, really good. One of the better Phoenix weekends we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and it was entertaining. I mean, that's really ultimately what the goal is, right? Is to be entertained. There was a lot of entertaining aspects of it, whether it pissed you off or not, that's up to you. But you can say that it was entertaining, right? And thought-provoking and engaging and the type of stuff that you want to see. So yeah, I'm going to miss Phoenix as a championship race for a little while. Obviously Homestead, you know, all the drivers are excited about it. So I guess we should be excited about it too. But last shout out real quick though, in the Xfinity race to Brandon Jones, hit that top 5. I was pretty excited about Brandon Jones.
Brandon Jones. That's your guy.
So I was happy to hit that one.
Jones had a good day, qualified on the pole for that race, and was pretty solid over there. But yeah, everyone's excited for Homestead. They even were re-airing that Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch advertisement about bringing back Homestead. Good news, though, Phoenix, regardless of what the format is, whether it's the 10-race chase or if it's the final round of 4 races instead of 1 race, or any points format you go, Phoenix is still in the playoffs and still in that final 4 races. So still will have a part to play in crowning the champion, and also including their spring race, too, will have a part in everything. But as we close the book on Phoenix, we do want to keep looking back on our season-long cards. I kind of wowed these guys. I had throughout the year 33 different season-long related bets that extended more than 1 week. I had a few of them hit, which was pretty nice. In the green for the year, mostly thanks to Connor Zilisch. I feel like that's where we have to start. The generational bet that we rode all winter long, that was one of the first things we saw, one of the first things I put coin down on. The initial over-under for Connor Zilisch for the win total was 1.5. And that was at -135, and it was a generational slam for both of us, Seth. Then they moved it to over 2.5 at 2-1, slammed it again, and that is the majority of the money that I made because I knew that those were absolutely ridiculous numbers. Did I think Zilisch was going to hit 10 wins? No. Did I know he was going to at least get 3? Absolutely I did, and we cashed in on it big time, Seth.
Yeah, man. The only regret I have with Connor Zilisch is not getting reinvested when the line reopened at 2.5 like you did. I had 6 units down on the over 1.5 at -135. So, you know, a good 4.5 unit profit there. But yeah, I just had no idea that this kid was going to go out there and win 10 races. I knew 1.5 was honestly, like, I should have just put every dollar I had anywhere, pulled out all my stocks, everything I'm sitting on in any sports book and put it there. But yeah, that was absolutely the generational future. Not the one that made us the most money, or at least me the most money, but the one that certainly had the best shot of returning there, Rod.
Yeah, and for Connor Zilisch, I mean, that was one of the things where, as we talked through it in JRM, we know that is a dominant team in the Xfinity Series anyways. I'm sorry, the O'Reilly Series. Yeah. They're a dominant team, right? And we knew that any of their drivers and all of their drivers were going to be in play all season long. Expected more out of Quapple. Obviously, I think I had some Quapple love in the beginning of the season. That didn't come through as much as we wanted it to. But for Connor Zilisch, I mean, we saw this coming, and I think you're right. Everybody hammered that over 1.5 and didn't look back. And yeah, it just a great investment in the future because we knew that Connor Zilisch was going to come out and do great things. Like you said, though, it was like maybe 4, maybe 5 races. Or, that's generous, but to come out and win 10, I don't know that we're going to see that in a long time. Obviously, Zilisch not long for the O'Reilly Series now, and now we have to wait and see if anybody else comes around that can do what Connor Zilisch did. And I don't know, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, Zilisch, of course, moving on to the Cup Series with Trackhouse. If his win-loss total is set at over 1.5 again, I'll be taking the under on the Cup side. But a couple of overs for Trackhouse helped me out this year as well. SVG over a 1.5 at +130. That was one I feel like I kind of had to talk myself into and kind of talk you guys into over the offseason. But I felt really confident that he would take at least 2 of the road courses. He won 5 of the 6 road courses and was able to cash that bet for me at +130, as well as Trackhouse over 3.5 wins at +120 that Ross Chastain also helped me out with the Coke 600. Trackhouse, in some respects, not quite the perfect season, but we saw it with SVG. We saw Chastain win to get in the playoffs. Did pretty well there and was able to cash both of those bets for me.
Yeah, that was one. The SVG was one that I regretted not getting over on. We got a boost at one point at Bet Rivers, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll take the SVG over 1.5 wins, boost that up to even, closer to 2-1, and ended up betting Toledo to win the MAC, which ain't looking great, boys.
Well, what are you going to do? So those overs hit for me. I had a couple team unders as well that hit. A couple team end driver we'll go through. RFK under 2.5 wins at plus 150. Of course, all those guys showed throughout the year that they were capable of winning. It didn't happen for any of them. Had to sweat that out. Of course, you never know if they could pull off some late ones. Keselowski almost grabbed one at Phoenix on the last restart there, but the under 2.5 wins hits. Front Row Motorsports, the line was set at half a win, plus 120 on the under. That was surprising to be plus money. None of those guys were able to win a race this year, and none of them particularly came super close, other than Todd Gill and maybe a time or two. Ty Gibbs, under half a win, plus 140. That one, again, one of those that at the time I kind of had to talk myself into, but
yeah, I didn't like it.
In retrospect, I'm okay with that. Have been a slam dunk bet, and I'm glad I took it. And on the truck side, Raja Karuth, his line was set at over under 1.5 wins. Was able to grab one, but the under at minus 150. That one hit for me as well. It always feels kind of a little icky to bet on guys to not succeed, but when it pays out like it did in those cases, it certainly helps.
Yeah, it certainly does. I remember a couple years ago, Rod taking some unders on like Martin Truex Jr., and then he goes out and has a sensational year. And it is a tricky situation taking season unders. They're not the most fun market. I don't think they're heavily bet either. I mean, I don't think NASCAR futures in general are super popular markets to get invested in. But the under is always a different type of sweat, specifically whether you're betting NASCAR, football, whatever it may be.
Hey, listen, the Ty Gibbs under was a home run, as we've seen in the World Series this last week. But yeah, I would have hammered that one as well with you, because in fact, I think I did when we were talking through the futures bets on the NASCAR gambling podcast. We brought up Ty Gibbs. I was like, there's no way on God's green earth he's winning a race. And I don't think he's winning one next year either. So I'm calling my under right now.
Yeah, if that market comes back out there, certainly we'll look into it. And hey, the NASCAR futures may not be popular out in the general sphere, but they certainly will continue to be on this program. I'll wrap up the rest of my bets that hit, which thankfully is a pretty extended list here. One of my favorite markets getting into for the first time was standings matchups, this driver versus this driver, where they were going to end up for the year. Hit Denny Hamlin over Ryan Blaney. Of course, had to wait on that one until after Martinsville. That one was at minus 115. Didn't work out for Blaney to get to the championship 4. Chase Briscoe over Ty Gibbs at even money. That one, again, another one that worked out pretty well. Gibbs missed the playoffs, so I had rode that one for a while. Alex Bowman over Chris Buescher at even money as well. Again, one of those you make the playoffs versus miss the playoffs. That one was super tight, but was able to cash that one at even money as well.
Yeah, congratulations, man. It seems like it was a pretty good season for you in the futures bet. And I think in general, I feel like the three of us were pretty sharp overall on our futures. And I as well was 6-5 overall in the futures market. I played about 24.25 units, walked out with about 53.5. So about up 29.2 units is what I finished there. Personally, 4-0 on the season win totals, 1-0 on the specials, 1-5 on the championship futures. If you want me to run through those ones that came through for us as well, Elliot, quickly, I can. Lane Rigg.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with a little extended discussion because I have a whole nice list of misses that we'll go through here too. It's not as smart as I sound going through all the wins first.
Yeah. In the Truck Series, I was on Lane Riggs over 2.5 wins, minus 150. That one didn't feel great by halfway through the season, but ended up coming through for us. So we appreciate that. My favorite Truck Series bet, though, which felt again almost kind of like a generational lock. I had 6 units on it. Grant Enfinger, Daniel Hemrick, both top 10 in the season standings, plus 105. That was a great return on investment, over 6 units back in the green for that. I was on the Daniel Hemrick championship bet, 12-1, 1.5, a little bit of an over investment there on my part. In the Xfinity Series, we mentioned the Connor Zilisch over 1.5 wins. Cashed that. We cashed the Jesse Love championship future, brought us back 18 units. Harrison Burton championship future, 30-1. Never really saw the closing line value there that I was expecting for Harrison Burton. I mean, my handicapping was right, though, on what I expected. I expected him to qualify into the playoffs and maybe get a cash out. The cash out never came. The books never bit the bait there. And then in the Cup Series, we hit on the Chase Briscoe over 1.5 wins, plus 125. I regretted for half the seasons not going down on the over Ty Gibbs bet that you were on, Elliot, because that was one I thought about for a long time. Went with the over 1.5 wins, though. Glad I did. He turned into an absolute beast down the stretch. Bubba Wallace over 0.5 wins. I said he wasn't going to get to 100 wins without winning one. Well, he made it right, I think, over 100 wins before he cashed that, but got that at even money, came back 3 units in the green for that. I was on the Chris Buescher Championship Future 40-1. Never really got any value back on that. Cole Custer 300-1. That you're welcome for the donations on that one. Caesars. And then Chris Bell, I jumped on mid-season Championship Future plus 750. And again, not the best investment. I think I should have looked for a Briscoe instead when he was floating still around 20-1. So that was where I finished up on the season as a whole for my card. 61.47 units up. So 61.5 units up. Best season I've had by far. And a lot of that credit goes to you guys, everyone over there in the NASCAR betting family who helped us continue to be sharp on our bets, have discussion around these markets. And also, of course, that betting model we put out really, really helped me this season. So really excited that we could finish that far in the green. Really, really tough fall for me. I was really bad here in August. Daytona, Darlington, Bristol too, kind of, in the red pretty heavily for those races. Kansas too, really did not have, you look at the playoff stretch for me. I had 3 races in the green. The Roval was a big one. Las Vegas did well, but I had a 3-month stretch there in the summer where we were just continuing to click off positive weekends. And that's what it's all about. Any profit is good profit. And, as they say, a rich man never went broke taking a profit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. A lot of good bets on the card there for you, Seth. I got to get in that market of the Enfinger and Hemrick, both top 10 in the driver standings. That's one that was pretty well obvious, even though Enfinger didn't get a win. Overall for me, in the green, of course, season long, 9 out of the 10 playoff races. Phoenix didn't end so well for me unit-wise. 9 out of the 10 playoff races either in the green or within 1 unit of the green, so handicapped fairly well. For the year, 14 races in the green, which is a personal best for me. Darlington was my best track. Top 2 weekends of the year, Darlington in the spring, Darlington in the fall. But so it worked out pretty well for me, but I'll go and run through my misses now on the season long. Feel free to cut me off if there's any opinion from the group on here. Austin Dillon under half a win at plus 130 didn't hit. Generational drive at Richmond we'll talk about here in a few minutes. I was not super confident in JGR getting over 8.5 wins, so I took the under at plus 120. Denny Hamlin almost killed that himself with 6 wins. Title bets that I missed. Bowman 35-1, only because if that ever happened, I'm not making money on it. Blaney 7-1, Ford plus 275, Logano 20-1, Elliott 9-1, Hamlin and Byron at 7-1 all missed. Blaney Logano standings, Quinella dual forecast I had at 20-1, looked like really good value. It happened in both 23 and 24, couldn't happen in 25. Hopped on an Xfinity title bet for Zilisch, just over plus 200, didn't hit. Added a 28-1 Raja Caruth title bet before Martinsville that didn't work. Daniel Hemrick 14-1. I was on most of the year, didn't hit as well. I was pretty nuts there when we were at the Fantasy Football Expo. Seth, SVG had just won Watkins Glen. We kind of talked ourselves into maybe this guy can make the championship 4. Put a little sprinkle on a 12-1 to do that. That obviously didn't happen. Kyle Larson missed the championship 4 at plus 135. Felt really good about that for a while. Didn't hit. Of course, he was the champion. Standings matchups I missed. Gregson over Zane Smith minus 125. Rough year for front row, really rough year for Gregson as we'll discuss. Keselowski over Chastain at plus 100, of course, didn't work. Chastain in the playoffs, Keselowski did not make it. In-season challenge, things look pretty good for my 48 car. I bet on him to win that at plus 550 and to beat Reddick in the final, plus 750. Of course, that didn't happen thanks to Ty Dillon. We'll talk more about that in a minute as well. Ross Chastain over 1.5 wins. He got to 1, couldn't get to 2, missed that at plus 120. And I had a little sprinkle on a group standings matchup on the Xfinity side. I had Eckes over Brandon Jones, William Sawalich, Harrison Burton, and Ryan Sieg at plus 350. Obviously, Jones and Burton made the playoffs. Eckes did not, so that didn't hit. So as much as the wins happened, thankfully I was able to make more money, but volume better, you're going to miss a whole host of a lot, and it happened for me. But nothing that I'm too embarrassed about in those misses, guys.
Hey, man, you got to keep swinging, and that's what we do over here at IBT. And, we've talked a lot about it on this program, Rod. There's different styles of betting. I think you and I, Rod, were more of the conservative, hey, let's find a couple bets we want and just hammer the crap out of them, at least more of this volume better. Any final season thoughts for you, Hot Rod, on anything that you were on, anything that you were missing, or how the overall cards shaked out for the season for you and Cody over there on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and I feel like maybe this is because the space is starting to grow even more season after season, right? Started with Phil, and Phil was doing a fantastic job. And then as everybody else started to enter the space, the betting started to get a lot more sharper. There's a lot more people to bounce ideas off of. There's a lot more analysis and just folks getting, because I've had a lot of folks come up to us too and say, hey, listen, we've had a really great year this year. You know, everybody that's been putting out content has been helping us to just learn more about the sport and betting on the sport and what to look for and what to look out for. Because, you know, obviously we've hit several long shot top 10s, several long shot winners. Like it's a matter of us being sharper because we're together, right? All of us in this together and talking through and bouncing ideas off of. And I will say that for Cody and I, you know, again, it just this weekend alone, right? Having Blaney as the winner, Kyle as the champion, the winning car number under, like all this stuff that managed to hit this weekend. It wasn't just because of this weekend. It was a culmination of all of the research that goes into every single week. The breakdown of the numbers. Cannot thank Ryan at iFantasy Race enough for everything that guy does, because I swear to God, the first tab I open up every week when I get ready for Cup, it's iFantasy Race, and I'm right there and I'm digging into those numbers, especially for DraftKings when it comes to, you know, fantasy prices and all that other good stuff and fantasy points. Just he's doing the Lord's work out there, and that is one of my biggest takeaways from this season is that research right there helped me be a better handicapper and give better bets out to the folks that listen to us.
Yeah, and Ryan, of course, direct partnership with us with the betting model, helping put out some good stats and give some good leans all season long, as well as bringing us the asterisk mark driver of the week every single week here on the show, letting us know, hey, this guy kind of finished like crap the last time we were here. Did he actually run like crap, or did something happen? And usually picks out a guy where something happened, and the guy, more often than not, does better the next time and doesn't end up in the crap. So definitely Ryan deserves all the praise that we can give him. And we got some praise to hand out here, at least for the most part, as we'll start off our season awards for the year. And it starts with the Bettors MVP, the most prestigious award that we've got here. And we've got a host of nominees. Seth, I feel like the place to start here, we both had him nominated. We're starting the Xfinity Series with Connor Zilisch, 10 wins over there, hit our generational future. Zilisch has to be the front runner for our Bettors MVP this year.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you say about the kid? I mean, I think we went to a point where, what you said, 17 straight races or something with a top 5. I mean, this guy was just on a heater. He was just on a heater all season long. And if you're betting the outrights, if you're betting placement props, it became a point where it was tough to bet him towards the end of that run just because it was so much juice. But Connor Zilisch, he came through for us multiple times. And, you know, aside if you were betting him for Cup Series, like that was the only time I think you got in any trouble betting Zilisch. So he definitely, I feel like, deserves to be the front runner for the Bettors MVP. We'll, of course, we're going to put some polls out on YouTube. We'll put some polls out on Twitter. We want to hear from you guys as well before we crown these award champions. But these are our nominees, so we want to hear from you guys. But Connor Zilisch firmly in that 101 spot in my mind for the Bettors MVP.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Great season for the 88 in the Xfinity side, and a great season for the 88 on the Cup side as well. Shane Van Gisbergen, from the overs on his and Trackhouse's win total that I hit, he really became an automatic road course bet, even at odds that I never thought that I would bet on an outright, Rod. We were still making money on SVG as the road courses went on this year.
If F1 taught us anything, it's that if the favorite is the favorite, sometimes the favorite is the favorite, and you just have to drink as much juice as you could possibly fill in a glass, because it's just the outcome that's going to happen. And, you know, for Connor Zilisch and Shane Van Gisbergen all season long, that was kind of it. I mean, road courses, the books knew, we knew, everybody knew. So you had to try to find the value in where you could maybe finagle a better number, a parlay that could boost this number up, maybe a 2-race parlay between Zilisch and SVG on a road course. Like, you had to get creative, but again, you knew that they were going to make you money. It's just how to make the money better for you and the creative ways that you can come up with. But yeah, those two definitely 1, 2. I mean, Zilisch for sure runaway, because every time you bet on him, essentially you basically cashed. So you can, from a better standpoint, absolutely love him. SVG, a weaker case. I mean, yeah, he was an MVP on road courses, but outside of that, you were taking long shot top 10s, and if you hit, that was fun. If not, whatever. But I think if I were to lean heavy on somebody on this list, it would definitely be Connor Zilisch.
And hey, with Zilisch too, I put the logistics number there. If you're watching on the graphics on that number 88, it wasn't just the road courses. It was when we were at Pocono, Seth, the Dale Jr. effect, him crew chief, and was on that Zilisch outright, and that helped me money there as well. Speaking of hitting outrights, Joe Gibbs Racing, Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin hit plenty of them for us this year. Bell, of course, winning 3 races in a row early in the year. Denny Hamlin, of course, his Darlington win in the spring helped cash my biggest day ever, which included a Hamlin outright. And the winningest driver is going to cash you the most outrights, obviously, Seth.
Yeah, I mean, both Christopher Bell, we were lucky enough to get on him at the one road course that he was able to pull off this year at COTA. That kind of started the Christopher Bell train. And I honestly, coming in this season, haven't had a lot of success betting Christopher Bell. It feels like when he's on, I'm off him. When he's off, I'm usually on him. But felt like a really safe top 10 bet when you could get him at decent odds. Top 5s were there in the mix as well. So I think he certainly belongs there. And yeah, you mentioned Denny Hamlin, dude. Like a guy who showed up every single time. I felt like when you were backing him heavily, like, yeah, there were some moments where I think he could have got a couple more wins and kind of got hosed a little bit. Phoenix being, just kind of the most recent examples, but 14 top 5s, 18 top 10s on the year, and just beautiful times that he kind of showed up in places where we thought he was going to. Darlington in the spring, he got that win. Michigan, not a total surprise just because he's been so good at Phoenix. Dover, I think everyone and their mother knew Denny Hamlin was the favorite once again at Dover. So that was a great hit there. And then Gateway, again, was another hit that we had. So Denny Hamlin all the way through, like he had his bumps in the road there in the championship once he qualified. Bad run at Martinsville because the engine blown up. Talladega didn't finish there well either. But overall, Denny Hamlin, such an outstanding driver and really came through for the Wallace, I feel like, multiple times this year for me.
Yeah, and before we get off of Gibbs, Chase Briscoe is on this board as well. Was able to get his first JGR win at Pocono. Got a couple of more wins there in the playoffs. Really the good year that we were hoping Chase Briscoe would have in this 19, and it puts him on the board for the Bettors MVP as well, guys.
I predict that Marcus will be the first to comment on this video, and he will say that Christopher Bell is the deserver of the Bettors MVP because he had 3 wins on the season. And no, listen, yeah, all 3 of these guys, right? I mean, JGR is a force to be reckoned with. They definitely proved that they were one of the better teams on the year. And, for Christopher Bell, we had that fun run in the middle of the beginning of the year, I guess, where he was winning all those races. But after that, it was just sort of, you couldn't actually count on Christopher Bell. You could speculate that you can count on him, but you couldn't pen him in certain places. Whereas Denny Hamlin, you could definitely pen him in. And I think he's got a stronger case over Christopher Bell. And then Chase Briscoe, look, that was a fun story. Yeah, obviously it was something that we loved to track all season long. I know Cody loved him some Chase Briscoe, and we all had fun kind of watching the rise and watching him figure out how to drive a good car. But I mean, by and large for me, it wasn't as exciting because I don't think I was on him most of the year. And when I was, he was off. When I wasn't, he was on. So
yeah,
Couple heavy hitters in the Truck Series we'll step down on. Gio Ruggiero had some good value, especially late in the year on that Talladega outright. And Lane Riggs was the one guy that could really take it to Corey Heim. But because Heim's numbers were so juiced, it really gave you some value on Riggs. And Seth, I know you specifically had some good bets, and you were the one who nominated both of these Truck Series heavy hitters for the MVP this year.
Yeah, I mean, Lane Riggs, absolute stallion of a gentleman. We got to talk with him after the Pocono race over his trailer, and just a class act, and also a class act on the racetrack, man. Like 13 top 5s this season, 3 wins, and arguably could have had a couple more wins as well. And it just felt like down the stretch, once he got past that little bit of a slow start and Chandler Smith was really out there ripping hard, that it almost felt like every week you could back Lane Riggs in the top 5 market and come away with a profit. Sometimes you're paying minus 140, minus 130. Sometimes you could get closer to even money, but Lane Riggs definitely came through for us there. And Gio Ruggiero, you mentioned him as well. And yes, came through for us at 20-1 at Talladega, but also at the Roval, we had a 7-1 top 5 for him. The only time he didn't come through for us was there at Phoenix this past weekend, where ends up getting in a scrap there and ends up finishing towards the rear, but was definitely one of my most profitable truck bettors bet this season.
Definitely a couple of guys who will be title favorites when we start to look at the 2026 odds there. John Hunter Nemechek, a guy we both can talk about as well, Seth. Legacy Motor Club, pretty good runs there in the summer. The books really did not catch up on JHN especially, FanDuel top 10 numbers. Really hit us some wicked good ones on that 42 car this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all go back. We had our colleague Eric Romoff at the track with us, newer to the NASCAR gambling streets. He was definitely invested there in the John Hunter Nemechek top 10 after practicing qualifying. We got 8-1 somehow. I don't know how we got that. That was a smash. That saved my weekend at Pocono. And 8 top 10s on the year for John Hunter Nemechek. And almost every single one of those, you were getting really, really good value. I'm talking 5-1, 8-1, 10-1 plus sometimes. Did have a couple top 5 runs and definitely cooled off down the late stretch of the season. That went away. But when he was in the NASCAR bracket challenge, he was soaring. He had some great runs at Gateway, Darlington. He finished 4th. Gateway, he finished 6th. And I really just got to, shout out to him, Pocono, P6, Mexico City, P6, like some really hard tracks. John Hunter Nemechek showed that he's got something. Like he's not just a guy who I think is a career lifelong Xfinity and trucker. I think he belongs here in the Cup Series. And I think he proved it, especially with, Legacy recently making a switch to Toyota.
Yeah, their notebook is pretty well set up, and they had a fairly good year. My last couple of nominations, there's more honorable mentions. Like if we relate it to baseball, these guys may not be full season MVP candidates. Yeah. We'll call them like the September Player of the Month. Austin Green, my road course king, came through with me on 5 top 10 bets, including my mega bet at Portland. My single biggest unit share placement of the season came through there for a top 10 and had the P2 finish at the Roval. This is a kid who I'm hoping gets some good opportunities next year, especially when making the lefts and rights. If we can get him in a car that's a little better than that third tier, the Peterson, Jordan Anderson Racing collaboration there. If we can get Austin Green in that JRM number 9 for one of these road course races, I might put a whole year's worth of a card share on that. That'll be fun, or at least that top 5. And Brad Keselowski as well, down the stretch for me, top 10s.
Yeah.
I didn't bet them all, of course, but Keselowski, top 10s in 13 of the final 19 oval races.
Wow.
We're able to hit that a lot in the playoffs. It seemed like every other week I was hitting that Keselowski top 10 late in the stretch. Really nice one to hit late on. So those are definitely some honorable mentions on my part. But I really do think this award probably in that first tier, guys, we talked about, especially those 2 number 88s.
Yeah, I think so. Rod, who would be your vote for the Bettors MVP this season?
I mean, like I said, it's got to be Connor Zilisch. The rest of the guys obviously are great contributors to your card week after week after week. But if you just went from a pure who's making you money every single week standpoint, it was Connor Zilisch. Because Lane Riggs, like you said, very juicy numbers, came through in a lot of circumstances, but the books did sort of catch up on him too. And it made it a little harder to bet Lane Riggs because you just knew that Corey Heim was going to be it. And, Lane Riggs would come across and be fine, but it was Corey Heim. Whereas Connor Zilisch, you just knew you were going to win. Lane Riggs is a little question mark, but Connor Zilisch, you knew if you put money on him, 9 times out of 10, you were going to win. And that, to me, that's what an MVP is, right? Somebody you can count on every single week to get the job done and not have to worry about it at all. So, yeah, it's definitely Connor Zilisch. And the rest of these guys are great, absolutely great, and have a great case to be made for each and one of them. But I don't think any of them come close to Connor Zilisch when it comes to the final tally.
Yeah, let us know down in the comments below. We want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Want to hear from you on all these awards. So the MVP, a lot of good vibes there, but we also have to nominate the Bettors least valuable player, least valuable driver. A few guys here who really hurt us this year. Seth, and we got to start off with Austin Hill. Obviously had speed in that car, obviously got things done at times when he needed to, but drove like a moron at times. And what really killed his whole year was Indianapolis, just getting mad at Eric Almirola. I get it. I'm still mad at Eric Almirola a little bit for what he did to Spring Phoenix, but I wouldn't have wrecked him like Austin Hill did at Indianapolis. Didn't help him at all. Killed his title hopes for the 21 car, and that has to put him at the top of the board.
Austin Hill's a jagoff. Let's just call it what it is, boys. Like, he is an absolute jagoff. He's a jerk. He's a villain. And he's not even the type of villain like Denny Hamlin or Kyle Busch who have enjoyed leaning into the villain role. Like, he's like, why am I a villain? Everyone should love me. No, dude, you're a jerk. Not only did he, personally screw me over at Phoenix earlier this year. I mean, you know me, Ellie. I was on some of the Austin Hill Super Speedway outrights begin the season. We go to Phoenix. I kept hitting him, and he drives into the inside wall. Okay, whatever. I can let go of that. Then we go to Indianapolis. I'm on heavy that Eric Almirola top 5 takes him out. And then also, let's not forget, We go to Watkins Glen just a couple weeks later. He starts an entire wreck that takes out Taylor Gray top 10 that I hammered down on, and multiple other cars junked an entire field that day. So Austin Hill is the Bettors LVP in my mind. I mean, you can bet him on super speedways. Good luck finding any other time to bet him, because you just don't know if he's going to finish first or if he's going to take out the entire freaking field.
Yeah, you reminded me of some pretty rough moments that weren't at the front of my brain with Austin Hill. Plenty of worthy nominees here, but this guy probably right at the front of it. Ross Chastain, our next guy to talk about. I mean, he got the Coke 600 win, but at times it was, it's not a lemon on the screen there. It's a lime with that number one, but kind of a lemon of a year sometimes for this number one. Crew chief change coming next year that we'll talk more about. Brandon McSwain coming over from the 24 team to replace Phil Surgeon on top of the box. Hopefully that'll help cash some more bets, because for Ross this year, it was certainly more misses than hits.
Rod, I don't know if you had the same experience I had, but there are multiple times where I had 3, 4, sometimes 6 units down, which is probably a bad idea, on Ross Chastain top 10s, whether it was Coda, whether it was late in the season. I think it was Las Vegas, and he'd run top 10 all day, and then we would just get to the final 5, 10, 15 laps, and he would have no late run speed, and he would just lose positions and bleed out, and it was arguably one of the most frustrating things. So, yeah, he did get that Coke 600 win, Hot Rod, but I wasn't on that, and I don't think I was on him really any time that was profitable until I think the very end of the season. I had him at Martinsville, which was really just a pit strategy that got him up there.
Well, what's frustrating is we watched him last season, and we just knew, well, okay, the season before, because I guess last season was last season, but we saw him in the 2024 season, right? And we were encouraged by the way that he ran. We were encouraged by the Hail Melon and all the sexiness that was, and we thought maybe a lot of this youthful exuberance that was keeping him from being the guy that we hoped he could be could sort of blossom into this season. And it just didn't happen. And we kept giving him rope. We kept giving it, well, okay, that was just this, right? And we'd make an excuse, and we'd come back at him next week and say, okay, top 10 car, top 5 car. He's been good at this track the last few years, best average finish on here, and we'd throw out all these stats, and then he just wouldn't come through, right? And I'm sure it's more frustrating from him, obviously, sitting in the seat than us actually talking about it. But by and large, we just kept giving him so much leeway because of what we saw from him this season before, that I think at points we were sort of doing ourselves a disservice, because we weren't seeing right before our eyes the fact that he wasn't doing as well as he was the season before, and that we should probably stop putting these top 10 bets on him.
Yeah, for Chastain, honestly, Seth, I don't blame you for a couple of those higher unit bets. I know your fandom's not quite to the point of mine, but I don't blame you for occasionally putting on those Busch Light blue tinted glasses there for Chastain. Well, I'll group together a couple of these guys here. Kyle Busch, Noah Gragson to start with, a couple that we both have, Seth. Kyle Busch, RCR, it's obviously tough sledding over there. KFB, though, continuing his downward spiral this year. 2026, a pivotal year for him, as well as Noah Gragson. I think, what was he, 32nd, 33rd in points, just really, really tough.
34th finished.
34th, yeah. So that's the third worst full-time driver there. Rough year for both of these guys. They weren't necessarily guys we expected to light it up, but guys that should have brought more in the better value.
Well, if you guys remember in that 2024 season, there was a stretch in the spring going into the summer that Gragson, you could hit him for a couple top 10s. The only time I remember betting Gragson this year was at Las Vegas, his home track, for a top 20. The rare top 20. I think it was actually an over-under market that we had out there. And he was running top 20 all day, top 10 at times, and just ended up getting caught up in something, not finishing top 20. And, really it was the regression though, right? 7 top 10s in SHR equipment a year ago, comes into better equipment, 3 top 10s this year, a 19.6 average finish at SHR a year ago, 25.2 this year. So certainly regressed. And I just kept bleeding Kyle Busch units out at super speedways. Like, I kept thinking, like, hey, that was one of my hot takes over the summer or the offseason, Elliot, was I think this guy can, continue to put out good finishes at super speedways. He had the speed. He just never finished there, man. And it felt like we saw a little something from Coda, like, oh, is Kyle Busch going to be a road course guy this year? No, that was just a one-off. But 5 top 10s a year ago, 3 top 10s this year. Average finish still right in that 18-ish ballpark. And I mean, Rod, his teammate Austin Dillon won Richmond, and Kyle Busch, again, kind of out to lunch that day.
Well, so for as much as we heard Denny Hamlin saying his fun meter is pegged I almost feel like Kyle Busch is around the same instance, right? He's getting to the end of where this isn't getting fun anymore, right? The stress of everything is sort of outweighing the thrill that you probably get strapping in. You know, a lot of us have been at work so many years in a row doing the same thing that it just stops being the love of our life, right? It stops being the way that we support. And so I almost feel like that's kind of where Kyle Busch is right now. A couple of years now where he hasn't won. Right now, everybody's bringing up the fact that the streak has been broken already, and it broke again. And when is Kyle Busch going to get his next win? And that's got to weigh heavy on you, right? So, you know, I don't know what obviously his plans are to come back, but how much longer and for what kind of are we going to expect next year? And this year for sure, I didn't give him a lot of rope though, and I know he probably didn't give himself a lot of rope, but yeah, I would think that if you were a Kyle Busch bettor, you probably were not having fun this year.
And he wasn't even good in the Truck Series, Elliot. Really, he had the one win, and outside of that, like, he wasn't consistent enough to really turn a profit, specifically at the numbers the books would throw out for him each and every week.
Yeah, and that can partially be blamed on Spire, kind of.
Yeah.
1 foot in, 1 foot out with the trucks, shut down a team in the middle of the year. Jim Pullman, of course, moving from Justin Allgaier's Xfinity car to that number 8 next year. Big year for him in 26. Before we flesh out on a couple more of these nominees, I threw out Daniel Suarez, Cole Custer, and Riley Herbst as some what we'll call bottom tier nominees compared to some of these other guys. And they were just guys that we didn't really expect them to win a lot of races, if any races, but certainly expected them to be better. Suarez, of course, brought up the rear at Trackhouse this year. Expected better out of him, especially at certain tracks. That just really didn't happen. For Custer and Herbst, they were bottom tier drivers this year, but they were absolutely woeful the entire season for the most part. Custer had a couple bright moments on super speedways. Riley Herbst couldn't even get that done. They should have been good little pinch hit top 10 possibilities, and it just didn't happen at all for really any of these three guys.
No, I mean, Cole Custer, 3 top 10s on the season. Riley Herbst, no top 10s on the entire year for Herbst in that 35. Like, I mean, you can like backwards drive and do top 10, right? Like Cody Ware and Riley Herbst, the only guys that you couldn't get a top 10 to the window on all season long. So absolutely disgraceful. Like Riley Herbst has been pretty good at super speedways, as you mentioned. And yeah, like Suarez, like, where were you really betting him? He kind of showed up at weird places. Won Mexico City, which maybe was a chalky bet that maybe we should have taken in the Xfinity Series. But aside from that, like, you know, I was on that Cole Custer 300-1 championship outright. And while he certainly came close at a couple of super speedways this year, I did not expect him to be 32nd in the points, you know, all said and done.
No, immediately fell back to the old Haas CNC racing of old there. The Jeff Green, Johnny Sauter days back there. Before we go to the Truck Series, we both brought up Tyler Reddick as well. Didn't win a race this year. It was a tough year to win races. There were a lot of drivers who you were like, that guy really didn't win a race this year. Tyler Reddick, definitely the most surprising there. Going from the championship 4 to not winning a race and just straight up not having speed for a majority of the season, I would say. Not the year we expected out of Tyler Reddick at all.
Yeah, no. And honestly, to be honest, like that was another one with Ross Chastain. It was the same thing with Tyler Reddick. We saw him do so well the season before, and we were like, all right, man, you know, regular season champion, all this great stuff going on. And then this year just sort of dissolved and kept giving him break after break. Well, okay, maybe this is the race that he'll turn. Okay, well, he's been good here, so maybe this is the race that, and it never happened. And it felt like, you know, Bubba Wallace was starting to surpass Tyler Reddick in terms of who we could count on in 23-11, right? And it just felt to me like Bubba Wallace started to become the guy that we could say, all right, well, top 5, top 10, you know, we can count on him to win this group or to do well in this one. Where Tyler Reddick, you look back, you're like, I don't know, this isn't good.
Yeah, it was certainly not the year we expected over there. Definitely an underrated LVP candidate, but obviously a tough field for him to get through. On the truck side, Chandler Smith on that first page of nominees here. Pretty decent start to the year, really fell off the second half of the season. Really bad playoff for that 38 team. Just didn't really work out later in the year for him.
No, it didn't. It was like Lane Riggs kind of zapped all the power from him a little bit, and he just didn't have anything really left. And your girl Tony as well on this list for one of your nominations, Elliot. I don't know exactly what, you know, the handicap was coming into the season, but I don't think it necessarily lived up to the billing, specifically in that Tricon equipment.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing here for Tony Breitinger. Of course, young driver still looking to get experience, well-funded driver, getting in the best equipment in the series, arguably 2 top 20s for that 5 truck this year. She earned her place on this list on a group bet at Spring Talladega at Caesars. It was Tony Breitinger and the 4 worst trucks in the field. 2 of the Rearview trucks, not even Frankie Muniz, the best Rearview truck this year. The 2 crappy Rearview trucks and 2 of the, like Spencer Boyd and somebody else, couldn't even win that group. That's what earned her the place on the list. We weren't betting on her often, but 2 top 20s in a Tricon truck and not beating the 4 worst trucks in the field on a super speedway race, that puts her in the final spot on this list. But obviously one of those where it's one of these first 2 names, maybe Reddick if you're choosing the underdog there, that probably takes home the LVP on the year.
I will say one thing. They were the Bettors LVP, but these guys are great DFS plays week after week after week.
Yeah. Good point. Fair enough.
All right, so now let's talk the drive of the year, some individual races and moments that really stood out. And the place to start here, Ross Chastain, the Coca-Cola 600, really bad practice. I believe he crashed in practice, didn't even get to qualify, or crashed in qualifying, didn't put down a lap. Starts at the rear of the field, takes him almost the full 600 miles to get up front, takes away William Byron's dominant day, earns himself a playoff spot. This one definitely up there. And we'll group in Bubba Wallace with the Brickyard 400 too. A couple of guys breaking. Well, Chastain wasn't a long winless streak, but definitely something for Bubba Wallace. 100 races without a win, able to hold off the best of the best on a couple of late restarts there. There are a lot of really good ones on this list. Those 2 are definitely the favorites.
Yeah, I have to shout out my some dude on TikTok I was watching. I was down in the Dominican. I could not stream the Coca-Cola 600 for like the last 50 laps. I was watching a bootleg stream, and old Ross chat. I'm watching a guy just, no, Ross is coming, baby. So I'll never forget that. A couple of El Presidente lights in deep into that night, and it was really cool to watch my guy Ross Chastain wheel that one home. So I think those 2 are definitely my 2 favorites for this this drive of the year. But Elliot, go ahead and run through the rest of the nominees, and I'd love to get Rod's overall thoughts on who he thinks takes home this award as well.
Yeah, so Seth, we both also jointly nominated Chase Briscoe's drive at Pocono.
Yes.
Thought they were way short on fuel. He's able to hold on and win his first race for JGR. I threw in the rest of these. Denny Hamlin at Phoenix, obviously fresh in the memory, but he did everything but win the championship. It was just, I mean, we're still not over it here. I nominated a couple that expanded past just one race. Ty Dillon's running the in-season challenge, the last seed, able to advance past Atlanta, ends up making it to the final. Ty Gibbs ends up winning that, so nobody cares. But if Ty Dillon had won it, we would really care about the in-season challenge. SVG at the road course is just absolutely dominant after Coda, but Mexico and Sonoma, the 2 that I wanted to shout out, winning by 15-plus seconds there. Mexico just running away from the field, and Sonoma the most dominant race of the season. Daniel Suarez, Mexico, Xfinity Series, obviously coming from a backup car. Couldn't run that nice Quaker State paint scheme, had to run just the black backup. Ends up getting that hometown win, though. Highlight of the year for Suarez. Austin Dillon, man, second to last race of the year at Richmond. Tough battle there. Needed to hold on older tires. Had the 48 coming, had the 12 coming, holds on, gets the win he needed to make the playoffs. William Byron at Martinsville, of course, just a couple of weeks ago as well. Ryan Blaney, it was his track. It was his day. William Byron dominates the race, passes the 12 late, able to get that win to get him oh so close to a championship and get there to ruin it for Denny Hamlin as well. And Connor Zilich's whole summer, like we talked about, 18 consecutive top 5 finishes. Broke the all-time record there from Sam Ard, the GOAT of that series. Definitely some major drives here that needed to be recognized, whether it was one race or throughout the full summer here.
Yeah, and so for me, I think because my heart speaks and my youngest loves some Bubba Wallace, the Brickyard 400. I think just from an emotional standpoint, right? I mean, this was something that you watch Bubba Wallace and you're like, man, the guy deserves to have a signature win like this, and he wore his heart on his sleeve. And I almost feel, because all of these guys, Ross Chastain, we saw some heroics out of him, and but all we've really seen out of Bubba is just heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. And for him to get this, right, this legitimate win, right, because obviously
crown jewel,
so people throwing around at a crown jewel win, and I almost feel like that was the moment that we saw a different Bubba from then on, right? It was just a more focused, a less volatile, and just a guy that's going to go out and drive the way he's supposed to drive and keep himself out of trouble, turn in good finishes. And I just feel like that was a turning point. To have this win, Bubba was like, oh yeah, I can do this. And I don't have to be this brash guy that everybody hates. I could be somebody that that wins races and goes out and finishes well and drives this equipment the way it should be, and have a less stressful career, as it were. But I like that one for sure.
Yeah, those two are definitely the favorites here. And with our last two categories, we certainly don't want to disrespect any of our nominees, but I feel like both of these categories both have fairly obvious winners as well. Starting with our most surprising driver, Ryan Preece, I feel like is at the top of this list here. 2 more top 5s, 9 more top 10s than his career highs previously. We went from thinking when SHR was sold that he may be, or they were going to shut down, that he may be out of Cup, to then running great in a third RFK car. Didn't win a race, but basically did everything but in that 60 car.
Yeah, I was super, I don't want to say surprised, but like I was like, I think that's the key word here. Preece had a heck of a performance, man. I mean, for a lot of the year, he looked better than Chris Buescher. He looked better than Brad Keselowski. And I would argue, outside of maybe Phoenix, maybe came the closest to winning a couple of races as well for RFK. So really great season for Ryan Preece. I think he's a guy we always doubted a little bit, Rod. So to see him kind of come in and, really come out of a shell. And if it wasn't for that Talladega points deduction, he's probably in the playoffs, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, easily, because Ryan Preece, we talked about him being the most consistent RFK driver all season long. And, Brad Keselowski, obviously we know what he's capable of, but Ryan Preece just seemed to be that guy. I know Chris Buescher, we were high on Chris Buescher as well, but for a long time there, it just felt like, we would hype up Keselowski, we would hype up Buescher, and then here comes Ryan Preece, just being the better one of the day. And you're like, well, okay, well, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for making us wrong because we packed the other two. But yeah, definitely a surprise.
Yeah, we got some more nominees on here, though, too. John Hunter Nemechek and Legacy Motor Club as a whole. The notebook's finally being built. They showed unexpected speed a lot this year. Seth, give us some thoughts on JHN and run us through some of your other nominees that you got up here.
Yeah, just a sensational year for John Hunter Nemechek to really establish himself as one of the better middling Cup Series drivers right now. As you said, they're still building out that notebook, but to have the runs at the tracks he did, we kind of already talked about him earlier. I was very, very impressed. Also, like Brandon Jones, he's a guy I've kind of made a living on fading in the Xfinity Series for a couple of years now. And he showed out, man. Like everyone remembers on this show a couple months ago where Rod took him the whole way up in the car lift there. So that was great. And Corey LaJoie, man, like I wrote this guy off for dead, and he comes into the Truck Series, whether he likes driving the truck or not, or racing in front of 12 people or not. He had some pretty good stats this year in the Truck Series, was top 5 more times than not. Josh Berry, I don't think any of us really expected him to come out and get the win, especially at a place like Las Vegas, right? I think if we were going to see a win, we'd think, okay, it's going to be Bristol. It's going to be maybe New Hampshire, Phoenix, one of these shorter tracks. No, man, Josh Berry definitely had some good runs. And then Nick Sanchez, not a guy I really expected to be as competitive as he was down the stretch there in that big machine racing number 48 car there in the Xfinity Series. And Shane Van Gisbergen, another guy for me, Elliot, like I guess like he's surprising because I knew he was going to be good, but I just didn't know he was going to be 5 road course win good.
Yeah, and even on the ovals, too, the fact that he was able to pull out some top 10 adjacent runs and some top 10 runs.
At the Clash.
Yeah, at the Clash as well, the short tracks there.
Mm-hmm.
SVG, him winning all the road courses was not super surprising, at least not to the point of some of these other nominees, but definitely deserves to be here. Sanchez in the 48, we knew that car had some speed. Putting a prospect in this car over Kligerman helped them get to victory lane, and the future's bright there for that team. Barry, wasn't expecting him to get a win this year, but it worked out. Brandon Jones couldn't figure out those Chevrolets, but the Toyotas, he nailed it. And the thing that surprises me is why won't he just go for a full-time truck ride and be a title favorite, go out and win some races next year? He ran really well in, like I said, a Spire team that was half foot in, half foot out in 9 starts this year. Speaking of Spire, Rod, I know you love these nominees here, especially the first one. I got to put Carson Hocevar on the list. We knew he had some speed. We knew he had some potential. I was not expecting Hocevar to have race-winning speed like he did at some points. I think I saw a stat of drivers who ran in X position more than anybody else. I think Hocevar ran 7th more than any other driver this year. And I was not expecting him to have consistent top 10 speed like he did. I do think he's going to win a race in 2026. Raja Karuth, I was not sure how I felt about him. I was kind of down on Raja. Comes in this year, gets a win, comes mighty close to the championship 4, and earned a JRM Xfinity seat, even though just part-time in that ride for next year. That was all more than I expected from him. Caden Honeycutt, I got to throw on here as well. Was glad he got the full-time shot, but he had some really good runs with Nice early on that I wasn't expecting. and the adversity of making it to the championship 4, racing for 3 different teams, getting cut out from your ride, getting put in as a substitute driver for Preece, having to find that ride for Watkins Glen to stay championship eligible for Caden Honeycutt. Really impressive year for them as well.
I am the least surprised that Carson Hocevar only had 9 top 10 finishes this season and finished 23rd in points. Regardless of how much speed he had, doesn't matter how fast you are, it's how much or how well you finish. And he did not get it done. So that is not surprising to me at all. As far as the rest of these guys, look, I did enjoy watching Rajah Caruth do what he did. Obviously, you know how I feel about Brandon Jones, 100% behind what he was able to do this season in JGR equipment. And then, look, Nick Sanchez, that surprised me. Like, there was a lot of times where I was like, man, Nick Sanchez, I know how good Parker Kligerman did in that 48. I didn't know if he was going to be the same. Turns out, not too bad, right? He's up there and he's competing a lot week after week. So I'm curious to see what happens to him next year. But I think out of all of these guys, I'm probably the most surprised by Nick Sanchez.
Yeah, he'll be back in that big machine car next year. So that'll be nice to build on a good rookie Xfinity year and move on to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and do pretty well there as well. Last award we got for the night, the Comeback Driver of the Year. Fewer nominees on this one. We've just got a half dozen here. Bubba Wallace, again, kind of the pick that I feel like we're all kind of in synchronicity on. Best driver at 23:11 this year, which we wouldn't have expected, winning the Brickyard 400 and a really solid early playoff run for the 23 this year. After not winning for nearly 100 races, he got a win when it finally mattered. His other wins in the playoffs when he wasn't a part of it. Bubba Wallace, definitely the favorite for this one.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, honestly, had a really good run in the playoffs too, just super consistent, had some race winning speed. I mean, let's not forget if Denny Hamlin and him don't get involved with each other in the playoff race too, he might have 2 wins and advance even further. I actually maybe was knocked out of the playoffs at that point, but
no, he was at that Kansas race. If he would have won that race, he's on to the round 8.
Okay, yeah. So either way, I mean, Bubba Wallace just a great season, and I don't think there are a whole lot of people. I mean, what would you have taken, Rod, in a bet like Bubba Wallace over Tyler Reddick? I mean, I would have probably needed 3-1, 4-1, 5-1 to maybe lay that preseason.
Yeah, it would have been tough because obviously, like we said, we were riding off of what Tyler Reddick had just accomplished the year before, and you didn't see a lot out of Bubba Wallace to make you say, all right, well, I'll take Bubba over Tyler. But here we are, and look, the restraint to not call his boss or what he did was a jackass move. To not say that, even though he said it. It's still, the little tongue-in-cheek made you go, okay, Bubba, we see what you're doing, but we get it.
Yeah, he said that with a brief little gesture out the window and gesture on the radio, but that was about it. Very mature this year for Bubba Wallace. But Seth, your other nominees, Harrison Burton took AM Racing from a team that really didn't matter to a playoff team. Austin Dillon, of course, getting that Richmond win, kind of earning his reputation back a little bit, doing it the right way. And Daniel Hemrick getting a win on the truck side and having a fairly decent year full-time in that MHR deal.
Yeah, I called RCR cheaters. I thought they cheated to win that Richmond race a year ago. It turns out they did not. Austin Dillon shut me up right there, and I'm really happy for him in that entire program for what they did. And Harrison Burton, you mentioned it in the Xfinity Series. I would have liked to see a little more consistency, but 10 top 10s, that was fine. He did win a pole as well, 2 top 5s. Average finish of 14.5. So it was fine. And for Harrison Burton, who kind of got casted out into this A&M racing team, I thought it was a very fine year. Hopefully he can continue to build out on that as he gets back into some better equipment with a different manufacturer next year. And Daniel Hemrick, I mean, I think Hemrick did exactly what everyone thought he did. He came through for us on that future with Enfinger, and 15 top 10s for him, 10 top 5s, got a win early in the season as well. So for a guy who hadn't done a lot of winning in his NASCAR career across all 3 levels, right? Just one win. Of course, everyone remembers that in that championship Phoenix race back in 2021. I was really impressed with what Daniel Hemrick did.
Yeah, we got to see another Hemrick backflip at Martinsville. My 2 nominees here that I added on, Denny Hamlin, I feel like you got to put on this list. He went most of last year without winning a race, won 3 early on, but after we were at Dover at the end of April, didn't win for the rest of the year. We didn't know if maybe Father Time was catching him, but again, did everything but win the title this year. I got to put him on for a comeback. And while we're in the MHR camp in the Truck Series, Tyler Ankrum kind of saved his career this year, I feel like. Not that he was maybe going to be out, but he was at risk of not being taken seriously. But I feel like this year he won for the first time since 2019 at Rockingham, career high in top 5s and top 10s, made a run to the championship 4. like I said, really helped keep his career alive and is definitely a respectable underdog for this Truck Series field as the years go on. Rod, again, we probably agree on Bubba Wallace, but any other thoughts on the other nominees here before we head out?
Yeah, no, we agree on Bubba Wallace. I did, you know how much I love Tyler Ankrum too. It just that 18 truck was probably the most. If there was a compass, it would always point to Tyler Ankrum. Every time I set it up, and it was like Tyler. Well, okay, fine. But yeah, I mean, he did a lot, right? Top fives up and down the board, and really came through. So yeah, I don't know comeback fully, but I definitely know a eye opener driver of the year.
Man, championship 4 run. I mean, they were pretty far behind the other 3, but that's certainly a fairly decent comeback for Ankrum. Of course, we will flesh out on all of these different drivers and teams and nominees and stuff. That's our next couple of weeks is season report cards going through the Cup Series and then the Xfinity and the Truck Series. Already starting to put those stats together and real excited about it. Again, looking forward to 2026 is going to be fun, but also reviewing 2025 and seeing how things set up for the future, Seth. Honestly, one of my favorite parts of the year, kind of take your foot off the gas pedal a little bit, reset, and rethink how things are going to work for next year.
Yes, sir. Throw in third gear, shifter easy. Have a good time here over the next couple months. Excited to get back into the championship futures here in just a couple weeks and review everything and really just take stock of it, right? And see what we can learn as bettors over the next couple weeks. So really, really looking forward to that, guys. And great season overall in the Backroad. I couldn't ask for two better colleagues and co-hosts and co-owners of the company over here at IBT to continue to help us bring this NASCAR betting initiative to the people out there on the internet.
Hey, we do the best we can over here. Follow us all on Twitter. The Twitter links are right there. All the links to all the fun in the episode description. Yes. Thanks so much for rolling on down the Backroad with us tonight. Let's keep on riding down all off season here on In Between Media's The Backroad. We'll see you next time.